executive session. Motion. A second. All right. Motion and a second. Everybody got that? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We will now go into executive session. Go over through the school to the media center. And for the audience, we will be back here around or by 6 p.m. Thank you. Board members, we'll go ahead now and continue our meeting. At this time, invocation. Richardson, please.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we've come together tonight to discuss the business of our district. Father, we just ask that you guide and direct us as we make decisions for what's best for children and for their education and for our community. Father, we thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have the minutes of November the 19th, December the 3rd, December the 4th, December the 18th, twice, and December the 20th. Is that better? I'm sorry. My fault. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Is there a second? Second. Richardson? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next, the discussion, adjustment of the agenda. Superintendent, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on. At this time, special recognitions. We'll begin with our student recognition and then staff recognition.
Sure, nice gentlemen, if you'll join me at the red cross.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me tonight in honoring two very special students for their own unique demonstrations of excellence in our school district. First, a congratulations to Miss Kalia Morton for her athletic achievements as a student athlete. Ms. Morton is from Granville Central High School and has been named the recipient of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Performance of the Week Award for varsity basketball. Congratulations, Ms. Morton.
Proud of you.
And next, congratulations to Ms. Abigail Humphreys for her outstanding artistic expressions. She is the 2018 Granville County Public Schools Holiday Card First Place winner and is a 9th grade student at J.F. Webb School of Health and Life Sciences. Congratulations, Ms. Humphreys. Now it's time to recognize some very special educators. All students deserve accomplished teachers who are equipped to prepare them for success in today's world. National board standards and national board certification give teachers and schools the tools to define and measure teaching excellence. Similar to certification in fields like medicine, National Board Certification is a rigorous, peer-reviewed process that ensures that board-certified teachers have proven skills to significantly advance student achievement. National Board Certification is an advanced teaching credential. As part of this process, teachers must analyze their teaching context and students' needs, submit videos of their teaching, and provide student work samples that demonstrate growth and achievement. This is truly a prestigious credential. Please join me in recognizing the following teachers for becoming newly certified. Megan Frederick, Granville Central High School. Miss Kelly Walton, West Oxford Elementary School. Now, please join me in recognizing the following teachers for becoming recertified. Holly Carroll, Stovall Shaw Elementary School. Ms. Charmaine Day Hagan, Butner STEM Elementary School. Karen Harshbarger, J.F. Webb High School. Leslie Magnanti, J.F. Webb Health and Life Sciences High School. Vicki Preddy, Mount Energy Elementary School. And Miss Terry Shelley, Mount Energy Elementary School. Absent. Congratulations to all of these outstanding educators. Thank you.
All right, at this time, public comments.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have 6 individuals that have signed up for public comment with the maximum allotted time of 30 minutes. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Leroy Anderson of 7020 Greenway Road, Oxford, North Carolina. And the topic is school closures. Mr. Anderson, when you're ready, I'll start the timer. You have 5 minutes, and I'll give you a heads up when there's 1 minute remaining.
Again, I'm Leroy S. Anderson Jr. My wife and I reside at 720 Greenway Road in Oxford.
That might work.
Yes, it is. It's not my position to be effusive. It's not my position to be condescending. It's not my position to be patronizing. But I'd like to just share with you something that's very, very important as a recent honorary alumni of Joe Toller School. Back in 1865, something very significant happened. You know, that's when Congress decided to abolish slavery. That was in January 1865. But in 1865, February, the very next month, was one born, Joe Toller Sr., a philanthropist, a humorist, one who took into his consideration all of the resources available to him to make it possible to start Joe Toller High School. It would be a travesty if that legacy died. Just as Congress had the power in 1865, you now have the power, always has been invested within you, to be able to exercise the power of the pen to ensure that the legacy that was birthed by Joe Toller Sr. continue throughout eternity. Well, that's a long time. 5 minutes is relatively short, but we know that Joe Toller Sr. was about the betterment of North Carolina. He was about the betterment of the Oak Hill community and about the babies, making sure that they will have or be afforded an opportunity to exercise their God-given talents by way of indulging themselves in education. Superintendent, Houlihan, board, thank you for indulging me, and audience, I thank you for indulging me as well.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is Mr. Willie Darby of 110 Greece Drive. Griffiths, thank you, sir. Griffiths Drive, STEM, North Carolina, and the topic is school closure. And Mr. Darby, if you'll give me just one moment to please move the flag. I believe it's obstructing our view just a touch.
Good evening. In the Christian circles I travel, we are taught to, at times, hold the house. That's what I want to do for about 10 seconds, hold the house. For anybody here who has any connection with Toller, Oak Hill, please stand. Thank you. Anybody here who has any connection with G.C. Hawley, please stand. Anyone here who has any connection with Mary Potter High School, please stand. Thank you. Any parents of students at any of these schools presently, will you please stand? Thank you. Any NAACP members here, please stand. Any pastors and preachers here, please stand. Is there anyone here who has an interest in what's going on tonight whose name I didn't call or you didn't fit in either one of those categories? Please stand. Thank you. As you know, I'm an attorney, I'm a preacher, I'm president of the NAACP, but tonight I think I want to put on my preacher's hat. And if I had to take a text, the text would be, it just seems to me. It just seems to me that there has to be another way to deal with this situation. We can spend money to determine why we need to close our schools. It seems to me we ought to be able to spend money to determine how we can keep our schools open. It just seems to me that we should come together and reason together. And I just feel down in my spirit that there are some great brains here and some great brains behind me. Yeah. We ought to be able to come together and not determine how we can close our schools, but how we can keep our schools open. It just seems to me that haste makes waste. We're kind of rushing into this thing. I know you're doing what the statute calls for. I know you are looking at the economic side of this thing. But it seems like we ought to just take our time. We ought to have these schools come together and meet and just put some ideas on the table. We can all just reason together and say, yes, there is a way we can keep our schools open. Or it just seems to me that none of us want to be a part of a negative history. And that's exactly what's going to happen if you take a vote tonight to close these schools. You will become part of a negative history. When the minutes are read, your name will be in the minutes as one who closed Mary Potter, Tola Oak Hill, G.C. Hall. I don't know about you, but I don't want 20 years from now my grandson succumb to me and say, Papa, what did you do to try to keep the schools open? I hope I'm a part of a positive history. It just seems to me that, and my friend Reverend John Gooch gave me this idea before I came up here. It just seems to me that we ought to be able to come together and determine and decide that we are our brother's keeper. We ought to be keeping one another into this school system, this great history, this great tradition, this great legacy that has already been established. And I challenge you to look inside your heart. And if your heart says, yes, go ahead and close the schools, go ahead and do that. But obey your heart, because when you obey your heart, you obey the will of God.
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker tonight is Dr. Tolokan Omakunde of 121 Halifax Street, and the topic is school closures. So when you are ready, I will start the timer.
Chairman Houlihan, I feel like somebody asking me after Dr. Martin Luther King made remarks to say, do you have any remarks? Reverend Darby did a great job. Thank you. I am the ninth called pastor of Timothy Darling Presbyterian Church in Oxford, North Carolina, where our founder, Dr. George Clayton Shaw, founded Timothy Darling and Mary Potter School. Amen. I could not sit in a seat anywhere and not get up and talk about this legacy everywhere I go. Because all across the country, people are talking about the legacy of Mary Potter. One of the reasons I accepted this position to come as their pastor some 16 years ago was because Timothy Darling was connected with Mary Potter and connected with Central Children's Home. And I remember growing up, and I thought the best school in the world was Booker T. Washington Senior High in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Not your Wilson Darden Mims, our arch rival. But I always met Mary Potter students whenever there was excellence involved. When I went to the All-State Choir, Mary Potter students were there under the direction of Miss Howard, Miss Roberta Howard. And they were always there. When we played Mary Potter in football, we said, that little bit of school, and on the way back on the bus, we said, we don't want to play them no more. They hit too hard. Mary Potter has always been that place. Dr. George Clayton Shaw had a mantra that I really like. A backwards glance, a present meditation, a forward look. In the Ghana, West Africa, a deeper symbol, there's a bird called Sankofa bird. It flies forward, but it looks backwards. It flies forward, but it looks backwards. Sometimes there's an egg between the body and the head of that bird. In other words, new ideas can be hatched if you look backwards and fly forward. A backwards glance. When we look at a backwards glance, sometimes we have to go way, way back, which is the foundation of some Mary Potter students. We have to go back to the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empires, the University of Timbuktu, Kemet, where Imhotep taught Hippocrates and Pythagoras. We have to go back to Mary Potter Academy, where there were responsible world citizens, academically, morally, and civically gifted people that came out of Mary Potter. If we did it once, we can do it again. Present meditation. Where is the present meditation? When has it occurred? What is it? I invite you to do the next part of Dr. Shaw's backwards glance, a present meditation. Have we meditated on what this means? Have we meditated on what we are going to destroy Our children are watching us. From 0 to 7 years old, they're nothing but tape recorders. From 7 to 14, they play back what we put on their tape. And so some of the problems you are having is playing back what we have put on the tape of these young people. And then lastly, a forward look. Our forward look has to be community-minded. Our forward look has to be with some of those great teachers that we have already at Murray Potter. I know some of them who I remember when they were in high school and they came back to teach at Murray Potter. Who does that except committed people? A faith community has to come together with the school board, county supervisors, medical, first responders, and also, lastly, a magnet school. I envision Murray Potter Academy of Excellence, because the children don't care how much you know on the school board until they know how much you care.
Dr. Cozart, you're ready, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Winborn, and Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Good evening to you. I appreciate this opportunity to come tonight just to share a few thoughts. During the past months, I have had numerous calls from parents and those in our community who are concerned about our schools. Let me thank you as the Board of Education for the many hours of work you have put in to look at data and also to look at those issues affecting our schools as we go forward. What I would like to ask of you tonight is to delay a decision for at least 2 years before considering closing or repurposing any of our schools. And I give you 3 reasons for making that request. One is that at that time, we could consider all possible redistricting possibilities, just to make sure that we look holistically at the entire county to see what might be a better way to look at this issue and not move with haste to do so. The next thing, you have a lot of information. I have some, but there are many in the audience tonight and in our communities who have not been as fortunate to be in some of the meetings that we have been in to talk about our schools, to talk about the financial implications of enrollment. And I think if we could allow time during this season to give those individuals a chance to be a part of this information sharing and also to provide input on ideas that might help us to be able to move our schools along. And in addition, to ask them to be our ambassadors to help us to go and recruit and get more students to attend our schools. And also during this season, we could set targets in terms of enrollment of what we need to see in our schools so that our schools will be able to function and that we will be able to have the resources to serve all of our students in each of the schools. I appreciate the time to come before you tonight. I know you have a heavy weight on your hearts as I listen to Pastor Darby, and I know you want to be on the right side of history. I'm grateful to you for your service, and thank you so much for considering a delay of at least 2 years in making any decision about the closure of our schools. Thank you so much.
Start the timer for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as he says, this issue lies very heavy on our hearts. I've mentioned several things before when I spoke the other night, but these are some additional comments that I would like to make. We see that another impact of closing of Murray Potter Middle School will be the displacement of faculty and staff. Will they lose their jobs in today's hard economic times, or will they be transferred if they have to go to Northern Granville Middle School? Instead of having a spacious and architecturally strong school such as Murray Potter Middle School is, will the students have to be taught in trailers because of the overcrowded conditions of the new school? Why does the school have to be closed when the end of school test scores have been above average at Murray Potter Middle School? When Dr. George C. Shaw purchased the land for the education of people of color, He did not envision it as a space for a luxurious office complex. However, we know that Granville County Public Schools does need a facility in which one doesn't have to cross the railroad tracks in order to go there. We would love to have the Board of Education have a better facility. Does Granville County Public Schools need the entire Mary Potter Middle School as an office space? Could not part of the school be used for office and meeting space, while the other part of the building be used for classrooms, for a magnet school and training center? Let us seriously consider our priorities. It has been said that the operation of Mary Potter Middle School is not cost effective because of its low enrollment. How much does it cost Granville County to operate Mary Potter Middle School per year? How does that amount compare with the $4 to $13 million that is being planned to renovate the Mary Potter Middle School into an office complex? Because of potential overcrowding and discipline problems that may occur at a consolidated school, most students may be inclined to go to the charter schools. This action will create more problems for our public schools. We will enter into an era of resegregation. We should concentrate on providing the best quality education for our students, which is the purpose of having a Board of Education. What is more important, a comfortable, expansive office space or quality education for our students? Or cannot the two be combined to satisfy the needs of both? The Granville County Commissioners, as has been said, and we like what Dr. Pazon was just saying, but if necessary, hold a referendum on the closing of historically black schools by means of giving the citizens of Granville County the opportunity to voice their opinions on this issue by the next election. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Nice to see so many faces out here, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is Rosalind Green Correction. I am at 4181 Shock Overton Road in Oxford, North Carolina. I grew up as a farm girl of Harriet and Walter Green. I'm a proud graduate of 1970 class of Mary Potter. The name Mary Potter was and should return to denote excellence in education, community, and noted for preparing children for a successful life and not a burden on society. The National Mary Potter Club, the school says the club feels should remain a middle school with magnet school characteristics and develop a community and schools component. We have highly qualified retirees such as Elaine Brooks, Dr. Ogo, Joseph Costa, Dr. Doris Cruz Williams, who is a senior fellow of Rural Schools Community Trust, and also Dr. Paulina Perel, and so many others like myself. Our schools are affecting the quality and quantity of businesses coming into our community. My friends in Maryland are always asking, what's going on down here in Oxford? Because they get to hear all the negative and the positive items that's going on in my retirement town. Reduce the capacity to match the current and future enrollment. Plus central office, the capacity would have to be reduced if you all move over to Mary Potter. So why not reduce the capacity and keep Mary Potter School as a middle school? Move Phoenix to Northern Granville and keep the current middle school grade. Because we feel that the Phoenix Academy does not reflect the long, successful history of Mary Potter School. Repurposing of the Mary Potter campus into the Mary Potter Educational Center. There was no mention of Phoenix Academy in the study on page 9 as to what would go into the Educational Center. The Phoenix Academy does not represent the quality of education that Dr. Shaw made Mary Potter into and what is noted for. Why not in-school suspension so the kids would still feel good about themselves and be present with their classmates to help provide positive enforcement? Teach conflict resolution to the staff and students. And now I understand elementary school children is now present at the Phoenix Academy. Really? The school system can't handle them at their home school? Is this where parent resource comes in? What is this parent resource center that's noted in this survey? Was there a pilot program? What was the success rate? Save money? What about combining and merging Tar River and Mount Energy or Wilton schools? Reduce the number of high schools. All three are under capacity. The older kids may be able to handle long bus rides rather than the babies at Joe Toller and Snowball Shaw. Yes, I am concerned about the legacy of closing all three schools, not just Mary Potter. Slow this process. Start again with people who are well-trained and versed. It's obvious you want the Mary Potter campus to thrive. Well, keep it as a place of pride, dignity, high standards for the children to feel safe, learning with more caring teachers. No kid left behind should not mean you are going to work. No kid left behind should mean that you are going to work and show love. Nurture them. It's late now, but in the future, perhaps a summit of board members, community, and students for a weekend retreat to discuss the future of the children that would be the future leaders and entrepreneurs in Granville County. The money saved could go to increase teacher salaries or offer teacher incentives to come and live in Granville County. And spend the money saved not by hiring consultants, but placing teachers in their field of expertise in the school. Or even a retreat of elementary, middle, and high school students to bring attention to the problem and provide solutions. You may be pleasantly surprised at what they will tell you.
1 minute, ma'am.
Thank you. You know the problem, fix it, find solutions. Low enrollment, drugs, sex, and crime, and bullying should be eliminated from the school. Let volunteers work inside and outside the school to do whatever is necessary. I am also concerned about what may happen in a few years if the education center is moved or sold as secret permits issued and the building sits there for years unused. And a generation dies out and those living don't know the history. And wake up one day and on the front page of the paper is a picture of Mary Potter building being bulldozed along with the name Mary Potter. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comment.
Everyone. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, community who've come out tonight. Glad to see you, for educators, staff, and students. I would like to begin by wishing everyone a happy new year. Granville County has had a successful return from winter break, and now our focus is on that of ending the year strong academically. Over break, however, thanks to some Title I dollars, Granville County Public Schools provided every pre-K through third grade pupil with a book to take home over the break. It is our belief that an intense focus on early literacy must continue even when students are away for a window of time. This week, upon return, some of our elementary babies sent over beautiful cards and notes of thanks for their books, and I've placed those at their seats, gentlemen. Some of them I wanted to make sure our board members saw the cards they made. These particular ones are from Cradle Elementary. Tomorrow night, our newly appointed design team for Webb High School will meet for the first time due to the inclement weather that occurred in December in an effort to accomplish the task of redesigning Webb, including health and life sciences, for the school year 2021. Since we last met, school staff and school officials have had our very first CTE Business and Industry Advisory Partnership. As described by legislation, this is a mandate we must accomplish each year, at least twice a year. So we've met the first part of the year. It was the most productive experience, and we cannot wait to share all that is to come. Tonight, we appreciate our business partners and community partners for their participation in our efforts. I'm happy to share that due to grant funds, our new parent liaison, Mr. Keon Furness, is now on board and is now on the move. He will be presented to you in February. Over break, we were honored to see, gentlemen, if you will pull this picture up for our audience and our board, we were honored to see that our Creedmoor Police Department produced a calendar with our very own student athletes, South Granville High School, and I would like to thank them for their continued partnership with our district on the southern end of the county. I'm also excited that GCPS has been selected to participate in North Carolina's Leadership for Innovation, a mindset shift for accelerating personalized and digital teaching and learning for 2019. This statewide network of superintendents and their district leaders will develop tangible steps and strategies to scale up our district practices for students today. We were excited about being one of only a few districts selected. I would now like to share with our audience and our boards that in the recent Granville Community College Blueprint newsletter, you will find that 15 students from Granville County Public Schools have been showcased. We are extremely delighted that our Tamara Rodenbar, who is our coordinator, our career development coordinator, had this project done. Our students are showcased for the lab work they did in welding. Thank you to our CTE programs for what is occurring with Granville Community College. While our board has the incredible task of grappling with some very difficult decisions in an effort to balance our fiduciary duty with genuine care and concern for all of our schools, the staff and I across the county have tried extremely hard to remain focused on the district work at hand. As such, January will be a very, very busy month, and I invite all of you to the following. We will have our State of the Schools address on January 24th at 8:30 a.m. at Central Office. If you are interested in learning more about where we are currently as a district and where we would like to go, please join us on January 24th. High school exams are upon us, and they begin on Monday, January 14th. I encourage anyone who is interested in assisting with proctoring to please contact any of our high schools. Winter graduation will be held on Friday, January 25th. This year it will be held at Northern Granville Middle School at 6 p.m. and all are invited to attend. We are excited about winter graduation because we know students progress in their own time, and graduation should not stand in the way of their future plans. So come out and help us celebrate our winter graduates. Further, this month we are planning for another wonderful winter job fair. Board members, you have this in your folder for our community. We hope you see these all over town. We will have a job fair 2 dates this year to accommodate interested candidates. Staff and principals will be recruiting, interviewing, and actually hiring at these events. The dates are January 31st at 6 p.m. at Central Office and February 2nd, 9:30 a.m. If you are certified, licensed, interested in either, and like children, please come out and inquire. We'd love to have you join our Granville County Public Schools family. Ladies and gentlemen, it's registration season. Please visit our website for details. This year's Showcase of Schools, formerly known as our Choice Fair, whereby parents and students will be able to take a look at all of our schools, will be held on Saturday, January 26th at Granville Central High School. Parent and family choice means a great deal to us, and we understand options for families are good. So if interested in learning more about our schools, please come out January 26th at 9 a.m. and visit with us. Gentlemen, you have a brochure in your folder tonight. You will also find some updated charter school information in your folders. And finally, all graduating seniors interested in receiving $5,600 to become a teacher should seek information from your school counselor on our board's prospective teacher scholarship. Applications are now available. Board members and guests, this concludes my January superintendent's report. As promised, we are staying on the move.
You certainly are. Thank you very much for that report. The next item is report from board members. Do any board members have anything they'd like to share in terms of attending a meeting or a committee or anything of that nature? All right. Mr. We want to talk a little bit about the new school board training session? Mr. Rickard?
Probably next month when we finish tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. All right. We have been down there and we both have learned a lot, haven't we? Okay, the next is the Board of Education Safety Subcommittee. If you remember, as we talked about creating committees for the board, which we do every year, we asked Mr. Udy if he would go ahead and get to work around a subcommittee that he has identified in the area of elementary schools. So, Mr. Udy, I will turn it over to you. If you would share your thoughts, we'll move forward.
Back in October of 2018, the Safety Committee, which is under the direction of Dr. Twain, had a conversation at the Butler STEM Middle School, and they had a few issues that come up that they wanted this board to look at. One is dropping off and picking up the children from school. The other one was the visitation of family and other friend members. And then the third one was the enforcement of background investigations. So all of this that's dealing with the elementary school, I spoke with Dr. Houlihan about it, and he decided to form a subcommittee for us to look at this. So tonight, I'd like to give you the names of the people who have been chosen to be on this committee. Dr. Winborn is going to be coordinating it through the county office. From the board, it would be Mr. Ed Mims, Assistant Principal Charmaine DeHagey from Butler STEM Elementary, Assistant Principal Sherry Burns from Cradle Elementary, Dale Mims, who used to be a TA and also just another member, Kimberly Spencer and Stephen McMillan, who are parents, and then I've been asked to chair the subcommittee. After we look at these situations, we will see if what we have is sufficient. If not, we will either change, delete, and then bring it back to the board for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. I noticed the bullet other. Are you asking for other people that the board might want to recommend or anything of that nature? All right, great. I think one correction, I think Sherry Burns is the principal at Cradle. Yeah, principal. Yeah, she's principal. She was assistant principal last year. Okay, do any board members have anybody else they'd like for us to consider, or any category of people that might have been missed or whatever? If so, let me know. Anybody?
I'd like to, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I think it is important we get a full picture across the county. So if we could add another principal to this committee, since this is for elementary schools, we have, I think it would be helpful, we have a northern elementary school principal, if we could add a southern elementary school principal, just in case the issues are a little different. I'd like to add that.
Okay, anybody else? So then I will take by consensus that you are in agreement with this proposed members and adding a elementary principal from the southern end of the county. All those in favor of this, just please by consensus say aye. All right, go for it, Mr. Udy. And by the way, I want to add here just a minute that as we talk about this particular subcommittee of the task force, the board, I'd also like to let you know that I would like to, at the appropriate time, ask Mr. Rivers if he would work on some areas related to substance abuse, and we'll come back to you a little bit later with that in more detail. Also want to say to you that at the February meeting, I will share with the board my proposed committee structure of individuals to serve on the various committees. So if you are interested in a particular committee, please let us know, because we'd like to get that done. The process we use is that the board chair recommends, and then the full board votes on those committees. So if anybody has any particular interest that you have not already informed me or talked with me about, please let me know, and then we'll move forward. Okay? Great. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Beauty. All right, year-round calendar, and I'm going to let you take this for a while and just move on through the different items.
You got it. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Dr. Michael Myrick and Ms. Pauletta Thompson will share with us this evening information on our first year with year-round schools. You gave us permission last year to take a stab at this, and of course, this got off the ground pending student numbers. Pauletta, I think you're going to talk with us about those numbers and where we are at the present in anticipation of what we might do next year, what we can expect.
Absolutely.
Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, board members. I come to you this evening to give you a year-round programmatic update. Currently, we have 413 year-round students at 4 campuses. Butterstem Elementary, Butterstem Middle, Northern Granville Middle, and West Oxford Elementary. One major benefit to a year-round calendar is that students are provided with the opportunity for both enrichment and remediation programs. And we currently are operating intercession programs during each of our 9-week breaks. So after our first break, we had a very successful remediation and enrichment program at each school. Our Granville County Schools teachers provided enrichment to students based on academic needs at each of our schools. And then the students had the opportunity to either remain at the school for enrichment or to attend one of our community partnerships for those enrichment opportunities. We started to receive quite a bit of anecdotal feedback about our year-round program, and much of it has been positive. We are actively surveying our parents. We have a survey on our website right now that will conclude on January the 25th, and the plan is to bring you all the results of that survey at our February meeting. And as I stated, much of the feedback has been very successful, so much so that our parents, students, and faculty have started to ask the question, would we consider moving to a full year-round calendar at any or all of the year-round schools? And with recruitment season upon us now, we want to begin exploring that as best we can as a district to be able to prepare for a smooth transition for our 19-20 school year. That concludes my update.
Any questions, board members?
I have a quick question. When we finish a certain block of time, and then there's a 2-week, is there a break? And during that 2 weeks is when we do enrichment?
Absolutely. That break is called intercession. Some districts use the term track out, but that's the same for us. And during that time, they have the opportunity for remediation and enrichment.
Which is great, but I guess the question I'm really interested in is, when do they get as much summer vacation during the year as other students?
So students have the option to attend those remediation and enrichment programs.
They have not.
Yes, they can choose to remain on break and enjoy that as their summer vacation.
So a little bit like it's their summer school if they need it during the year. Great. Yes, Mr. Ritter?
I have a question, I'm not sure who's appropriate. Do we yet have any cost data on, is this a year-round school costing us substantially more, substantially less, or we breaking even compared to our traditional?
We have crunched some numbers, and I will turn that over though.
What was budgeted for year-round schools was $130,000. The cost associated with it is the time period before, while year-round is operating in the summer, before traditional school starts. So for the specialty teachers and those kind of programs. So Other teachers are on year-round. The main teachers.
If I understand you correctly, you're saying that the excess cost above, if we had no year-round, we're paying about $160,000 extra than what we would have done had we not gone there.
130.
130.
For all of them.
All of your own. And do we have any data yet? Are we seeing any active improvement? Is it too early to see whether these year-round schools are working?
Testing will occur in June.
We'll get all the total cost updates and create data.
We have benchmark assessments we do throughout the year to refine our practice with children with regard to where children stand. We will have all of that at the end of the year for all of our students. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Next on our list this evening, we have another program we were given permission to sort of investigate to see if we had numbers to run, and that is our Granville Academy, run by Principal Dr. Vanessa Wren, who is also the Director of Technology for our district. It's been an interesting program. We were able to pull homeschooled students to our district through the use of this program, some charter, some private. So I will turn it over to Dr. Wren now to give you the yearly update.
Thank you, Dr. Plain. Good evening, board. It was almost a year ago that we came before you with a proposal that drawn on all of our experience of running Granville Online to create a school that was highly flexible and would increase average daily membership. And we went forward and opened up Granville Academy. Granville Academy students attend 2 days a week, and they are doing their work remotely the other days. It might be the 3 work days, it might be weekend days. But I'm very pleased to give you some updates this evening. We currently have 128 K through 12 students. We have 59 APM. This inaugural year, we focused on the learning. That was our focus. We have looked at effective online and blended learning. This was a new approach for us. Lots of experience in online learning, but this was an expansion from K through 8, and we really worked hard on getting that right the first semester. We have focused very much on personalizing what that looks like for our students. So I'm sorry if I'm going in and out here, so let me see if I can hold still. And so that has been our focus. I want to show you where the 59 enrollments came from. So I have a chart here. 10.2% were new kindergarten students. 42.4% came out of the homeschool. We did some research and realized we had about 900 families in our county that homeschool. We don't know exactly how many children, but that's 900 families. So 42.4% are from homeschool. 11.9% came from Falls Lake Charter School. 13.6% Oxford Prep Academy, another charter school. 3.4% Ranch Charter. And then 5.1% transferred to us from the 2 virtual charter schools that operate in the state, North Carolina Virtual Charter and Connections Academy. 5.1% moved here from other districts. And actually 2 families helped to move here as a result of this program. And 3.4 were the previous dropouts, and 5.1 paid tuition. We have families from Wade County, Vance County, Franklin County that are paying tuition to come here. So that's what the breakdown of the new 59 APM. We have many families who are waiting for us to get off this first year, work out our kinks, and get going. We surveyed our students and our families in the month of November and December, a mid-year checkup, if you will. And I have to tell you, the response has been effusive. The words love, love, love are repeated in our survey. Very satisfied, don't change a thing. Our parents and our students love the structure. They like that they can pursue other activities, sports. I have one student that is actually working at the Museum of Science and Math in cellular DNA and does that in 3 days at a time. So some really good stories are coming out of what we're doing. We have a lot of teacher involvement and flexibility, and we have put support labs into place. We have a very strong social media presence. One of the things I was very happy happy to learn during our snow days, our parents just started posting pictures and hashtag home away from school. So it's been a very strong presence for us. I also want to just talk about some of our next steps. We want to improve our money management system and increase some of our extracurricular activities. But what we have really focused on is the learning and getting the core content right this first semester. I have shared the link with you. I wanted you to see the feedback from families. Put some of the quotes there. And again, we have a very strong social media presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Van. Any questions, board members?
It looks great. From what I've heard, I'm sure it's very good. Do you have any idea, it appears that we're the money maker. I mean, is there some way that we are getting revenue into our, obviously, increasing 59 ADM, that's important. And I'm assuming that the ADM will go from full state and local funding. So, is there any feel for how much we're operating flat as opposed to we're making money?
I will defer to Beth on that, but I do know that it's been very helpful for us to not send payments to our charter schools. And so that's why I wanted you to see where that 59 new membership was coming from.
Ms. Day, will you give me specifics, please?
So the additional funding that is coming in with the 59 students, that's about $5,977.38 per student for state funding. So that's $352,665 that's coming in on state funding. Our local funding, any of those students that are now not attending a charter school, then that means a payment that we are not sending to the charter school. A student that is a homeschool student that now is coming to Granville County Schools, that we remain the same with our local funding because we don't get it per pupil. So there are, out of that 59 students, there are 23 students that are coming in from charter, so that's $37,083. So total additional funding of those, based on Dr. Green's presentation, of those 59 students, right at $390,000.
Right, I guess my question is, I guess we are able to have fewer teachers. Is that correct? Are we able to have fewer teachers teaching more students?
Yes. So they currently have 4 teachers. State funding wise, they are allocated 5 teachers based on that number of students. So they are able to operate with fewer number of teachers.
So that 5th teacher we get placed somewhere else for his Great. Thank you.
I thought what was so interesting, 30% of the students have come from the 3 charter schools in this area, and I think that is a real indication that while people do want choices, there's a lot more interest in the public schools sometimes than we give ourselves credit. And it's a great example of how we can compete with anybody if we're just as entrepreneurial and as creative as we possibly can. And congratulations, Vanessa and Dr. McLean. Great job.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. She and her staff do an incredible job because those students are with us some of the time and they're home some of the time. So monitoring them is interesting. Thank you, Dr. Reed. Our next presentation, next update for you this evening, board members, will come from Principal Amy Rice at Van West High School. Principal Rice is there. This is her first year, and she has hit the ground running. Definitely hashtag on the move at Webb. Principal Rice is looking ahead to next year, gentlemen. And in looking ahead, there is an elective course request coming before you for action this evening. Principal Rice.
9th grade. You'll just think back to 9th grade and just the tradition of our 14-year-old students coming from middle school into a high school. It is a very large transition for those students to make. When I went to school, when I taught at Webb many years ago, I can remember telling the 9th graders, you'd win the spirit contest at every pep rally if you just joined together and holler a little bit. Because they are larger in number because we have have a higher retention rate of our students in the 9th grade. What we'd like to move towards is a full implementation of a freshman academy. We have a 40-member freshman academy this year at Webb, and it's where we keep a small group of students, those 40 students, in a year-long course with 2 teachers. They take their math and English all year long with the same 2 teachers, trying to keep them in a more small environment and so that they can build that relationship with those 2 teachers for the whole year. We'd like to extend that, though, by offering a freshman academy to all of our students, moving them into an elective course that focuses on social emotional learning. Our students need to know who they are, self-worth, how to be motivated and set goals, and how that motivation connects to goal success. They have a hard time looking at that 4-year plan and realizing that 4 years is not that far away. And we're hoping that this freshman academy and this course will allow them to do better at that with some advising from those teachers. So it's described in general detail on the board docs of what it would cover. I actually took most of this from several different systems in our state that already have freshman academies and freshman academy seminars. But most focus on the social emotional learning. Castle.org is a nationwide website that focuses on social emotional learning and our students and the importance of that. And there's lots of foundational research that shows that students who participate in a social emotional learning course do experience greater success in high school and have an increased graduation rate. This course would obviously be for our freshmen to enroll. We would like the option of, even though it's called a freshman academy, there may be some sophomores in our school next year who could highly benefit from the course. So even though it may be called freshman academy, we would still like to be able to enroll students who we know and have identified could probably use some of these skills in order to be more successful in school. Any questions?
Any questions, board members?
But I've got to ask you, business has not been taught on campus for 3 years now. Before we would approve an addition, I guess, additional teacher, what are you doing to try to recruit and get and teach physics on campus?
Well, we encourage that through our chemistry classes, our physical science classes, the math classes. Just as many schools have discussed tonight, our enrollment is down. We have 700 students. Those courses are an option for our students to take. It is there in the curriculum bulletin, and it is for students to sign up and take that course. We did not have more than 15 students to sign up for that course this year. We do have AP Calculus, we have AP Biology, we have Honors Chemistry, we have other courses, but just as we are moving into the time to register, I've been telling teachers, the key is recruitment. We must recruit our students to make sure that they do know courses that are available, and we kind of have to send them in an area of, we really love to offer physics, but we need to make sure that we have a core group of students who want to take that. Going back to this course, part of that issue is perhaps a lot of our students did not have their 4-year plan in mind when they entered as freshmen, and could we start that in the 9th grade about a 4-year plan? Here's what you need to take. If you're going to go to college, these are the courses you need to have. We would see increased enrollment in some of these higher electives that are offered. This is an elective. It's not necessarily going to be for a new teaching position. We would probably see other electives go down. We have students who are taking some electives multiple times, where I would prefer them spreading out those electives, reducing the times that they can take the same course in one credit. You don't need strength and conditioning 1 and 2 if perhaps you are aligned to needing to take physics. Some of that is through our advising, and some of that is motivating our students and having them set goals for themselves.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we need a motion to approve the elective course request as presented, representing J.F. Webb High School. Is that about right?
It would be, because it would be approved, counterparts, Lisa Tusa and Janita Allen, they are on board with this as well. Should it be rolled out to other high schools, We have discussed this, all of us, Angie, Lisa, and Janita. So if it's approved, we would want it in our whole high school bulletin. We have a Granville County Schools high school bulletin where these courses can be available to all.
Thank you for that clarification, Principal Rice.
All right, do we have a motion to that effect?
Quick question. So my understanding is this does not involve hiring more teachers. That this will be teachers already on your staff.
It would have to be. I have no money to hire more teachers. Unless somehow that's going to come down. No, we'll write the grants, we'll do what we have to do, but right now it would be through the elective courses that our students choose. If this elective goes up, then other electives will not be called.
Do you know which electives would not be taught?
No, it'll be by registration and where we are with those students.
Okay, Mr. Mims?
Yes, I'd just like to know, would this, if we approve this, then these, I guess, the electives would also be at Granville Central and South Granville?
That's correct. The curriculum guides for all of our high schools, and they've worked together on this. Principal Rice is making the presentation. But this is something we'd like to have for all the freshmen in Granville County Public Schools. And if a sophomore needs it, not holding children back. This is something, we understand research. If students are successful their freshman year in high school, and they're able to get and stay on track in some way, then their high school career has the potential of being a successful experience. But if we get into the routine of having to repeat courses and things of that nature, and we lose them early, that is when you see dropout rates. The frustration of not being successful come into play. We like to mitigate that damage by having some intensive work done with our ninth graders upon entering high school, at all of our high schools.
Yes, sir. Please.
My question has to do with the 40 students that you have in the academy this year. And my question is, how are they doing, and are you using this process to work with them?
Right now, they don't have this particular course. Right now, the way we work with those 40 students is just through that year-long English and math course. And that is the issue that we are confronted with, and we're trying to focus on goal setting, social emotional development, empathy. We live in a world of technology where just to get our students off of social media and interact with one another, personal skills, all of those, it's a challenge. And so when we just have the freshman academy that we have now, they're still in their English and math class, and we have to cover the English and math content. So to be able to have an elective course where we could truly focus in on those particular skills that these students need to be successful is where we like to branch this out. Our freshman academy, our 40 now, they came in as at-risk students. Many are still at risk. We are still having to work with them, watch them. That's why they're in this year-long course, because they've still got another semester to make the growth that they need to make in their English and math classes. But they are in a smaller setting and have now that relationship with those two teachers.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Any questions further? Yes, Mr. Mims?
Principal Rice, if the students that are currently in the program, if you say they have another semester, if for some reason they are not successful, what will happen to those students?
Well, it's an eye-opener for high school students. Course promotion and promotion in high school is based on individual CEU credits. We go constantly. How many credits do you need to be to move into your sophomore year? 6, and one of those has to be English. How many need to become a junior? 12, and you have to have English. So as we watch these students, that's why they're in those core courses. They have to have 4 Englishes to graduate. They have to have those 4 maths to graduate. So we put them in that year-long course to have longer to work with them. If not, we do have students. That is why that 9th grade group across the state is so much larger. We see a 25% failure rate often in the 9th grade across the state with our freshmen. And that's the area that our students are not being promoted. So they don't promote. We try to catch them up. We have summer school, we have course recovery credit, and we have online classes that they can take. But most importantly, we want them to earn every single credit they can earn so they can stay on track to graduate.
All right, thank you. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the motion that we need to have someone nominate and then second. A motion to approve the freshman seminar as a local elective beginning in the 2019-20 school year. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Mr. Rivers, second. Mr. Min. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rice.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Ms. Rice. Our next item this evening is that at Mount Energy Elementary School. I'd like to call our Principal of the Year, Ms. Mary Ann Cruz, to the podium at this time. Mount Energy Elementary would like to be approved as a school of choice. So we wanted to bring this to you gentlemen this evening before we launch into our registration season, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Cruz. Good evening, Ms. Cruz.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me address you tonight. I come to you, Board of Education, on behalf of the Mount Energy leadership team, as well as our community, to ask to become an elementary school of choice. Our choice program is entitled A Community School for Students of Character. And what our basis of coming to this school of choice program is that we really believe in the quote that's here, that our jobs in elementary school, the foundational level of a child's education, is not just to form the academic skills, which are highly important, but to also develop the character skills of students. And we need to do that intentionally. We need to do that programmatically throughout our school. So at Mount Energy, we have decided to become a school of character. What we are looking at is there's a national system called the 11 Principles of Character. This is sponsored by character.org. And it basically really outlines for us what are the tenets that a school has that really supports the development of individuals' character. It looks at things like, are you involving your community and parents? Do you have things like self-motivation? And we have used our program, and we're basically evaluating our school based on these 11 principles. And from there, we're going to really develop our kids to both have moral and ethical values and performance values. And I really like how it's divided into those two categories. Because character just isn't about being a nice person. It's about being a good student as well. It's about meeting high expectations and taking that into the classroom. So that's sort of where we wanted to go with this program. We've highlighted here for you in yellow the ones that we already are teaching our students. And when I say teaching, our guidance counselor does monthly lessons. What's really different about Mount Energy versus other elementary schools is that we're going to take the next level to that, which is actually an integration into the curriculum. So we will take our Common Core standards and actually integrate with the materials we choose and the themes we choose, actually integrate character in them. I gave you an example tonight. I think it's important that you see the actual student work. So self-discipline was our trait for the month of December. And our 5th graders all had to, as they were learning about writing essays and learning about writing paragraphs, actually lay out with the details of writing what it means to be a self-disciplined person. And so this is just an exemplar essay I wanted you to see that a 5th grader produced from our school, really laying out. I think I wanted to give it to many adults in our lives as well, because I think the student really captured in really good detail the qualities that self-discipline really includes. So I wanted you to see that. Other examples are things like reading books like Wonder and understanding what kindness is in society, and then challenging them to go out in our community and see how we can portray that. And so we are really invested as a school community to care about our community, and we want students that can do that on both levels. And we want the opportunity to become a choice school, so anyone within Granville County that has those same values and wishes would be allowed to send their child to Mount Energy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for them?
I just have a real quick question. Not about this, but just as a new board member, I'm just curious. I thought it was now state law to teach cursive writing. Is that?
It is, yes,
I'm just curious what the print is. We are teaching cursive writing, basically.
Yes, sir. It starts in 3rd grade. Instruction has to go 3rd through 5th grade. By the end of 5th grade, they need to be able to produce a piece of writing. In this assignment, children were given opportunities. Some were cursive written, some were typewritten.
Thank you so much.
All right, other questions or comments? I certainly could never attend this school because when I read that letter, there were a lot of things on there I couldn't do. Punctuality.
High standard.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
like to remind all of our board members, all of our elementary schools, as a result of your work last year, are PET schools. So they focus on healthy, active children. This would be an additional layer at Mount Granville. This is not a loophole. This is on top of being a school for healthy, active children.
Dr. McLean, just to go off that, so this month our trade is cooperation, and so we're talking about how we can do active things within the classroom, that you can kind of do those brain breaks in the elements of catch, and then teach the kids cooperation along with that.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Richardson, second, Mr. Beauty. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. I now would like to turn the microphone over to Dr. Michael Myron, who has some policies you all have received for first reading. Dr. Myron.
Good evening, Dr. Hand and board members. The policies that you have before you this evening have required or highly recommended changes to them. The first one we will look at this evening is policy 2670, which is the Business Advisory Council. The only change that is noted in this policy is in the footnotes. You will scroll all the way to the bottom. It's a legislative change in number. You will see it right there. It went from, I can't read it from here. But it went from 1720, I think, to 1710, or vice versa. They dropped the 0 on the number. So that's the only change with that one. The next policy is homeless students. In this particular policy, 4125, you're going to see a lot of red. And what has happened with this policy, they reworded or switched things around to make it more reader friendly. So basically they move things to different sections of the policy. The piece that is different and that is required in this policy is in section E. In section E, it is number 8, 10, and 11. Those are the pieces on section E that are required for us to do with our homeless students. As soon as I get to that page, go. Communicating the dispute resolution process to parents, guardians, and unaccompanied youth experiencing homelessness. That's number 8. Number 11 is ensuring that when parents, students, and unaccompanied youth initiate the dispute resolution process, all parties comply with the dispute resolution policy, and that parents, students, and unaccompanied youth are provided with the information listed in subsection D1.B of this policy. And number 10 is developing a uniform written notice that explains to parents, guardians, and unaccompanied youth their rights and the process for appealing a decision of school officials as required by subsection D.1.B of this policy. The notice must be written in simple and understandable format and translated to other languages as needed and practical. Next policy. Unsafe school chores. Again, this is a change in the legislation, and it's changed the language from no child left behind to every student succeed, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Legal references Elementary and Secondary Act of 1965, and they changed that language from no child left behind. And the final policy is policy 4333. And it's adding a statement in on page 2. This is a practice that we started using last year. Middle and high school students may also utilize the anonymous safety tip line for reporting risk to the school population. Any questions about these four policies?
So these are first read, which means then we'll come back at the next board meeting for second reading approval. Question? Yes, Mr. Judy?
I was going to ask if we could, if I could make a motion on the waiver. I don't see anything really needs a second read on, but a waiver to go ahead and vote on these tonight.
Okay, we have a motion for a waiver. Is there a second?
Just to be clear, a motion for waiver policy compliance and waiver.
The motion and a second, and then a 2/3 vote. So is there a second? Please? Any further discussion, Mr.? Yes.
Yes, I do have a question. On the Business Advisory Council, what is the frequency of that council reporting to the Board of Education?
Once a year. Once a year. Annually. Yes, our plan is to do it twice. You will hear from the council next month, which is Career Technical Education Awareness Month. We will have a presentation from the board that will talk about the work that we, from the meeting we had in December, and also let you know what we're planning to do with the Business Advisory Council moving forward in the spring. So you will be receiving reports from us this year.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are you ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, unanimous.
That's correct, so now you may move to approve.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve these four policies that are presented for us.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer.
Next on our agenda this evening will be Dr. Stan Winborn, who also has a set of first reads. Dr. Winborn.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, tonight I have a single policy which is actually located in 3 different locations in our policy manual. This is school safety, and just like policy 4333 that Dr. Meyer just presented, this policy includes language changes around the anonymous tip line that is now practiced in our schools. That is the only change to this policy. Thank you.
Any questions? Could we move on with this one as well?
At your pleasure.
All right. If you would like to, we need a motion to waive the second reading.
Yes, I move that we waive the second reading of this policy.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Smith, this takes a 2/3 vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Now a motion to approve the policy, the changes to the policy.
I move to approve the policy.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Richardson, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We have nothing in the area of capital management this evening, but we do have fiscal responsibility. Ms. Day will be presenting the budget amendment as required each month, and in the financial update and board travel. After that, she will present, as she does every January, the new budget timeline. Ms. Day.
Dr. Houlihan, board members. Tonight we have budget amendments for several funds. The first fund being the state fund. This budget amendment is budgeting additional state funding. It's budgeting the school safety equipment grant we received, $79,110. State mandated bonus funding, $32,834. Transportation funding, $4,000. Textbook funds, $25,438. School technology fund, $4. And a reduction of the summer reading grant funds, $3,883. The total of that is $133,503, and that is an increase to the overall state budget to a total of $50,431,161. The second budget amendment is the local fund, and this is neither an increase nor decrease to the total budget, but is adjustment within for coding for insurance and dues. The next budget amendment is a budget amendment for federal grants funds, and this is budgeting career technical education funds, $19,472, IDA's preschool funding, $19,693, Title V, $37,500, language acquisition state grant, $427, and the largest of this, 21st Century Community Learning Center funds, $279,700. So the increase in the total federal fund budget is $356,792 for a total amended federal grants fund budget of $4,573,780. The last budget amendment is for the other restricted fund, and this is to adjust budget for a few different funding sources. One, recycling revenue received, $733. A WOW Coalition grant for Wilton Trail, $17,600, and adjust the budget within the Exceptional Children's Department budget. So it is an increase to the other restricted fund budget of $18,333 for a total amended budget for the other restricted fund of $3,407,674.
Okay. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendments as presented? Mr. Richardson? Mr. Mims, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
The next item is the financial update, and board members, you have a financial update as of November 30th, 2018. At that point, we're 42% through our fiscal year, and the percentages are in line and the expenditures are within the approved budgets. The next item that is included there is board travel, and this is board travel as of November 30th that is presented on a monthly basis. Expenditures as of November 30th, 2018 are $4,214.44. So the balance in that board travel budget is $6,409.56.
Are there any questions? These are both information items. All right.
Board members, the last item that I have tonight is the budget timeline. This is a similar to the prior year timeline. I will mention that the budget process is already underway with planning and data gathering. The budget will include input from various layers of stakeholders. We're working on putting the district budget committee together to include representation from various schools, different parts of the county, employees, and community, as was done last year. This calendar, this timeline is a guide. As you can see, most of the dates are arranged. As the process continues, specific dates will be fleshed out, and board members will be made aware of these dates as specifics are developed. The end game will be that the budget proposal will be presented to the Board of Education for for consideration on April 22nd, 2019. And then that will be presented to the county commissioners. This is the process that's required in the spring as required by general statutes for the Board of Education to provide the county commissioners with a budget proposal by May 15th.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is future school board elections. And Mr. Rivers, I think you requested this be on the agenda, so we'll ask you to take it over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Granville County is the only school district in the state that has 6-year terms for its board members. I think there are advantages to returning to a 4-year term. The 6-year term came about in about 1960 when the city and county schools were merged, and that was a compromise position directed by the state legislature. Changing our terms to 4 years would require the state legislature to change the general statute that formed our school system. What I propose tonight is that we consider for a February discussion and vote changing our terms from 6 years to 4 years. And I would like to propose that, and I'm happy to volunteer any of the board members that would like to work on a staggered rotation. Perhaps we could get it in line with the county commissioners so that when races are run every 2 years, each district would have a board member and a county commissioner up for election. Might increase voter turnout, but that's one thought. But we present to the board a plan of how we would do our staggered elections, and also discuss with board members who are willing to give up some years of their term. I'm willing to do that in order to get this to happen. So basically, I'm not sure what the motion is required, but I just wanted to get this out for us to discuss it and perhaps vote on it in at our February regular meeting.
Okay. Any comments, board members? You certainly may.
I just want to note, as Mr. Rivers said, you would require legislative change in the.
We cannot hear y'all at all. Okay.
In looking at the, okay, so the local bill, I pulled out the local bill to see sort of where your election system comes from. And the most recent local bill in Granville was in '89 after a Voting Rights Act lawsuit. And so the legislation does say that the terms will be 6 years. The question mark for me is that that legislation was created and passed as a result of a court order. There was a court order in the Voting Rights Act litigation, and the court order does say that the terms will be 6 years. That case was closed right after that order, which was February 1989, but the order says jurisdiction is retained to enforce this order. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know if you might need permission from the district court, which I don't think would be an insurmountable obstacle. I think that could probably be obtained, but I would need to do a little more research into whether we would have to go back and get that order modified.
Okay. Yes.
So my intent was simply, we have to have the board in favor of this. We need to have a majority vote of the board. So my intention is that we try to do this in February so that we can get this before the General Assembly this year so that it would apply with the elections next year.
All right. Comments? Anybody else? Excuse me, Mr. Beauty.
Yes, this is certainly something that I would support, Mr. Rivers, but I would also like to this is something that I would like to support, and there's just one other aspect I don't know if the board would be interested in it, but I would like for our attorney to look into what would be necessary to bring up the issue of term limits for board members.
Okay. Okay, so are you aware of any school board that does that?
I am not, which is not to say that it may not exist somewhere in the state, but I'm not aware.
Okay. That might be something to look into as well. Any other comments? So do I sense that you're willing to have Mr. Rivers work on this a little bit further and maybe bring back some information at the next meeting? Yes, sir.
Along with legal guidance, that we might have a proper understanding of what we ask them to do legally.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
I just want the legal aspect from our attorney to make sure they do.
Right, okay. Good point, very good point. Thank you. All right, well then go ahead and move and we'll see what you come up with and come back at the next meeting.
And if it's okay, I'll work directly with the board attorney.
That'd be fine. I think that's fine. Okay? All right, we're going to transition now. Staff is going to leave the table because we'll be discussing the reorganization that is before us. So if you all would go ahead and take your seat. And the reason for this, for the audience is because it's very, very important that people understand that the administration, as led by the superintendent, is not involved in this. We have intentionally kept her and others out of this because we don't want anybody to think that the superintendent is trying to tell us what to do with all of this. So with that, we have some slides that have been put up there as a kind of a reminder of some of the issues that we face. And we're not going to run through them. We'll just give you a chance to, if there's any questions. And some of the issues that we face, let's lay it out here. To balance our budget, $955,000 roughly is what's needed. And so when we look at the enrollment, and any of you want to chime in, please do so. But if we look at the enrollment, you can see where Mary Potter at one time was up to 464. Enrollment now is 248. And it's important to point out the attendance lines have not been changed during that time. In other words, the attendance lines have not been changed, which would then result in a decrease in enrollment. I think we all know that part of that is that the northern part of the county is declining in enrollment, student enrollment, and then when you include the charter school scenario, that's where we're really getting into the issue of the number of students. At Joe Toller, you can see that has gone from a high of 229 now to 187. And does that figure include the students who are going there for choice? Okay, so the enrollment issue, as you can see, once again, is related to the same thing as Mary Potter, and that is between declining enrollment and student charters. It's just a tough scenario. This final slide shows you the percentage of capacity that the schools are currently achieving. And I think at Toller Oak Hill, it's roughly 51%, 52% capacity. And at Mary Potter Middle School, it's roughly 23% capacity. In other words, only 23% of the students' facilities and opportunities facility-wise are being used. So those are some of the items that have come out as a result of the studies that we've done. And so what I'd like to do is open this appointing the meeting to a discussion of the findings of Mary Potter and the merger with Northern Granville Middle School. And I would open it up for the board if you have any comments or thoughts about this. Anybody? Yes, Mr. Smith?
Let me go ahead and get my 2 cents in. I think most people know how I feel about the closure of Joe Tola Oak Hill Elementary School. And I have to say it all with all conscience. I'm against it from the start. I'm against it from the middle. I'm against it from the end. As personal conscience, I would have to say I think it would be an act of barbarianism to close Joe Tola School. And let me give you my reasons, which I've stated so many times before in the past. I heard something tonight that echoed the same sentiment of what I had. You have one of the largest districts in Granville County that has only one school, elementary school in it, in the very northern end of the county. When you talk about enrollment, personnel that's there, yes, it's down to 190 some people on choice, but just about all our schools are on choice. And there's no indication that other people are not going to choose to go to Tola School. What bothers me, if we look at a figure of showing that here you got a school, elementary school, in the northern part of the county, yes, which is an isolated county. You have 51% of that school capacity that is being utilized. Just as an example, another excelling school, just like Tola's an excelling school. You have Mount Energy that we just talked about tonight. The success that it's doing. That school is only 46% of the time. But when we look at things, I'm inclined to believe that Mr. Kozar made an important statement tonight when he said that it's amazing how it seems that we in such a rush to solve a dollar figure that we have circled and singled out particular schools to close. Not looking at the ethics that is at hand here, nor the equity that could be utilized here. I thought as a Board of Education for Granville County, we were there to serve the students of the whole county in every way. I've heard a lot of things over the last few months and weeks about the reasons to close Tola versus the reasons to keep it open. And to me, we're looking at all the aspects of that county with the populations, with the economics of it, with the value of having a community school where the kids are. To me, all the things weigh toward keeping that school open. I'm convinced without a shadow of a doubt we're moving too fast, at haste, to solve a dollar problem too quickly that will hurt and harm this county in a way that we'll never be able to recover. And as for me, someone said earlier tonight, I have to vote my conscience. There's 7 of us. But I have to vote my conscience for the importance of the children of the northern part of Granville County. And I know the effect that it would do to them, picking them up and moving them in an hour-long course on the bus. Students that walk to school, parents will have to adjust their schedule with their employee, with occupations. Of now, when they used to have kids that could walk down the street to a public school and have security of being in the community, now have to weigh in that time of getting their kids up early, perhaps putting them on a bus, something they've never been used to in all their lives, and to travel an hour in the morning in the dark, and an hour, particularly this type of year, an hour in the dark in the afternoon, not knowing how it's going to affect the parents who, some of us have jobs a little bit better than others. And I have to speak for the common man. And I think we need to look at the equity of what we're doing versus the reason of having a school in that northern part of Granville County. As I said before, it's a well-knit community. Everybody in the community loves that school. I believe Dr. Cozart might have had something tonight, and I wish more people would echo that sentiment. I've been saying it from the beginning. Why are we in such a rush to close the school when we have not looked at all the opportunities of looking at the county at large? Weigh out the potential of maybe closing another school if you must close one. Let me just say this for the record. We have 3 elementary schools in the southern part of the county that is within a 3-mile radius of one another. One of those schools are at 43%. You have another school that is still not at its full capacity either. Wilson Elementary. I could go on, but what I'm saying is, if we're so bent on closing a school, why not bring equity into it? And look at how this thing is going to affect this entire case. And you're talking about people going to charter school. I don't know what this will do to the northern part of it. How it will affect their attitude toward staying with the system that we have today. I just want to say this and get it out. What bothers me during this whole procedure is that it seems like the Board of Education, a part of it, had made this decision up before we even had hearing on what we were going to do. I know for a fact that there are members on this school board who has thought about closing total school for years before we had the $900,000 issue that had come up. I know that we have board members on this board who had talked and strategized on closing that school even before they were elected on the school board. This is not a sudden agenda that has come up where we need to close the school for the sake of a dollar. I say this as a clean conscience. I believe it's been orchestrated from the beginning and targeted and singled out to close Toll Elementary School. And what bothers me so much as a board member, because I love the whole county. This Granville County is my home. My children grew up in this county. And by the way, they came from Toll and they are successful. I have a daughter who came out of Toll Elementary School. And the reason I say that is because it bothers me how we will say that, and how we pitch one school community against another school community, and say that one school has produced great people, and alluded to the fact that the other school has not. When they came up under the same school, I call that really an act of hypocrisy to make a statement like that. And I'm saying it because, as we've always said in all of our time as being able to speak on the board, we have an opinion and a right to speak. And I want to say this, regardless of what you decide, I think it would be a travesty not to delay this thing and look at all the other avenues of being able to come up with the idea of this $900,000. Even your commissioner has spoken toward that. We have not even considered the fact of what the commissioner would be willing to contribute to this fact, or what other factions might bring about in keeping that school open. I don't think it's a hard decision for me. It's an easy decision that Toll School should remain open. What bothers me about the Murpata issue, I'm going to say it what I'm saying. What bothers me about the Murpata issue is that I have watched several of the board members coach other board members to get the idea that you might have a vote if you choose to go a certain way. And that amazes me how we would do that to divide a community and a county against one another. And yet at the same time, in the back of my mind of living in Granville County, I believe if you get enough votes where you would close Toll, you will not keep the promises you made to Murpata. Because you will not spend that kind of money that your next step will come up with a way to close that school as well. Y'all get a chance to talk. To close that school as well. I believe with all of my heart we should look at all the other means of coming up with the sum of this $900,000 instead of hastily rushing an agenda through and using all the avenues that we've used to do it. even saying that superintendent has an agenda she has to do within the next year. She will do what we give her. She has said that time and time again, that she will educate according to the way we set up the county to be educated. And I will not hold back on getting this out of here, because I'm going to sleep good tonight. And I'm going to sleep good every day, because I've been an advocate of education ever since I've been on this board. And it's a travesty to think that we would even think of this, closing the only school in the northern end of the county that is so vital for those children to get an equal opportunity of education and have the opportunity to be close to home and in the community, just as all the other elementary schools are within the county of Granville County. I just want to say that.
Thank you. Mr. Pease, please. All right, Mr. Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to first of all, I want to thank Reverend Smith for that statement of fact that he just made. And I'm not going to try and go through all of that, but I agree with 99.9% of what he just said. The other thing that I would add, what sort of stuck with me, was what Commissioner Cozart said when he made his remark. And that was, why not wait he said a few years, to work on this issue. You know, I came tonight prepared really to talk about Mary Potter and give some ideas to the board about how to manage that situation. But after listening to what's been said by Reverend Smith, you know, I feel like we don't have so few funds in our fund balance that we can't wait a little while. So, you know, my position on this, and I think Reverend Smith has made his pretty clear, and all I can say is, I'm in his game.
All right. Anybody else?
I would have to disagree with some of what my friend and a colleague I greatly respect, Mr. Smith, said. And he said we all have our opinions, we all take them from the heart. I've been on the board for a little over a month, but I've been closely involved in the school district for 10 years. I would disagree with Mr. Smith. I do not think there was any kind of preconceived move to close Joe Toller, Mary Potter, or C.G. Hall. If you look at the financial situation we are in, if you look at how the public school landscape has changed, this county and this board, and the reason I ran for this board is in the 10 years I've lived in this county, I've watched this board not take action. We did not take action when the charter schools were first on the horizon coming to our county. It's a different world now. It's the 21st century. In the past 9 months, while we have actively been discussing, getting data, having work sessions, community surveys, doing all the due diligence we can do. In those 10 months, SpaceX has launched 15 rockets to put satellites in orbit. Stock market's been up and down 3 major cycles. The point being, in the 21st century, things happen faster. And I agree we do not want to make the wrong decision. But I would have to say, to defend the other board members, I disagree with Mr. Smith. I do not think there was any preconceived notions on anyone's part. I think all of us love these schools as much as I do. I spent time on the Joe Toller campus. I listened to your comments at the public hearing. it moved me greatly. I have the utmost respect for Toller. I have the utmost respect for the Toller graduates. There was a comment I made at the last work session where I made a comment that Mary Potter had the Alumni Association there. But not a single parent was there to say keep Mary Potter open. I made the comment that there were distinguished alumni from Mary Potter. I made the comment, when asked, I made the comment that Joe Toller had a whole gym full of parents who wanted to keep the school open. The problem we've got is Mary Potter is not the Mary Potter it once was. Times have changed. I believe that the legacy of Mary Potter is one of the proudest legacies in this county. And my friends in the Mary Potter Club know I speak from my heart on this. We will keep the memory of Mary Potter alive. To the best that we can, we'll keep the memory of Joe Toller alive, just however we vote tonight. But the fact of the matter is, all the board members here have agonized. I have lost more sleep over this decision than any decision just about in my life. I know all these other board members have. We've looked at the data and we've prayed over it. So Mr. Smith, I do appreciate your passion, and I'm very proud that you are standing up for your school and your district. But I just want you all to know that none of us are taking this lightly, and none of us have any particular reason to close any of these schools other than what is best for all of our students.
Okay, anybody else?
I'd like to make one comment.
Mr. Pease?
I'd like to make one comment based on what Mr. Rivers just said about no parents from the Mary Potter School attending the hearing. And, you know, for about over a year now, the plan has been out there that basically said Mary Potter is going to close. For the students, they're going to be moved to North Granville School. And I think if you think about all the parents that's there, I would surmise that they think that that's going to happen. So I would think that the reason they didn't show up because I feel like they didn't have any reason to show up to say, don't keep this school or the parents or the students here from moving. I mean, that's just my opinion, but if you surmise what's going on in the last 12 months and what's been talked about, I just don't see parents there feeling like their students won't be there.
All right. Mr. Mims?
Can you hear me in the back? Okay. Well, let me begin by saying, Happy New Year, everyone. And it is time for new beginnings. And while everyone doesn't make resolutions, I've made resolutions that I want to be the best representative that I can and to look out for all of the students in Granville County School District. Over the holidays, I read 2 articles in the Butler Creekmore News that I want to quote. One writer said, and I quote, "Sentiment only goes so far. Solutions needed." I totally agree. And I thought it was about time that the public spoke up. And I'm glad to see so many of you here, and I'm glad to see you speaking up. This is something that has been needed for a long time. The second writer was a reporter, Chris Harris, who referenced resolutions and concluded by saying, and I quote, "So my message for the new year would be to take charge more than usual. Stop a minor problem in its tracks before it becomes major. Stop a major problem before it becomes catastrophic and blows up in your face." We all know the issues that we face. And you all know that these issues didn't start last month or last year, or the year before that, or the year before that. If we fail to act or address these issues, we'll be sitting here next year talking about the same issues. At Joe Tola, I recall Commissioner Jay getting up and asking the question, how did we get here? But he also said that we've been talking about this for 10 years. And he indicated that we had put in fund balance about $6 billion that the Board of Education could spend. Well, I've been on the Finance Committee for the last 2 years. And Reverend Smith knows that this board has been asked to cut staff positions because we had too many staff positions at Central Office. After this year's budget, the current year that we're in, the board had a chance to request to meet with the county commissioners. But this board elected not to do so. Might I also remind the audience that you have been seeing the figure $955,770. That's not all. Do you not recall that when the superintendent came in, we asked for an analysis of what we needed, and she came back and gave us a figure of $26 million to just get the infrastructure up to date. This wasn't for any new teachers or supporting students. This was just to get our house in order. The county commissioners, after requesting that the Board of Education come to a county commissioner meeting and request a bond, decided not to go forward with a bond and elected only to appropriate $15 million. So add $11 million to that $955,770 for a place to start. Let me just say, it's easy to do simple things because doing simple things is easy. It's hard to do things that are not simple. And when you have hard things, it really tests your mettle. Let me say to my fellow board members and to the audience, when I was asked to be on the Finance Committee, I expected my colleagues to expect of me the very best job that I could do. So let me tell you, I will not compromise my fiduciary responsibilities by not taking action to move our district forward. We all understand the need. We have low-performing schools. We need to assist underperforming students, and we need to restore our infrastructure. After reviewing the data, and I doubt if there's anyone in this room who's reviewed all of the data, because if you have, you know that we don't have the resources. You've heard principals, you've heard others say that we don't have the resources to bring on new programs. And I can understand each of us supporting our communities and supporting the school. But each of us has the responsibility to support the entire Granville County School District, not just single districts. So let me say about the gravity of our issues and the consequences of doing nothing yet again. We'll be back here 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, doing nothing, just like Commissioner Jay said that he heard these discussions taking place 10 years ago. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to make a motion that can be voted up or down. But this board needs to take some action take definitive steps to improving our school system.
Do you have a motion?
I do.
Before he does,
Okay.
could I talk about an alternate plan?
You may. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All of the board members have worked hard to come up with solutions to do the best for all these schools. We're faced with a very difficult decision here. We can't close Joe Toller for a lot of the reasons that my friend Mr. Smith said. And we can't keep it open for a lot of reasons that deal with fairness to the rest of this school district. I crunched the numbers over the holidays, over and over again. This is the expenditures by location. This is only 1 year. I looked at 4 years. It costs on average, year in and year out, it costs on average, according to looking at these numbers, the best numbers we have, about anywhere from $1,600 to $1,750 more per student per year to keep Joe Toller open than it does for West Oxford, Cradle, and Stovall Shaw. West Oxford is a low-performing school with a high EC and ESL population. These are issues that fortunately, do not confront the Toller School as much as they do West Oxford, as much as they do Cradle. I ask you, is it fair for the taxpayers whose children go to West Oxford, who pay the same tax rate as the Toller community, is it fair for them to see $1,600, $1,700 a year more go to keep Toller open? All right. Mr. Smith brought a good point up, and I made it earlier this evening in the executive session. There is a problem with closing Toller because it is the only school up there, and nobody on this board wants our children, our young children especially, to have an hour-long bus ride, one way. However, if you are going to get extra benefits by being in a small school, and you have to remember at the public hearing to the Toller community, many people said, why close our school? We have small class sizes. We're a small school. Well, the other schools don't have that benefit. So that's not fair. If you want that benefit, I propose that you help fund that benefit. And what I'm proposing is I have started a fund at the Granville Education Foundation. I've already contributed to it, called the Joe Toller Fund. That fund, I'm betting on the Joe Toller Oak Hill community. I'm betting that you will want to keep your school open and be fair to the rest of this county. I did the math. I've come up with a figure. I'll propose this as a motion. It can be voted up or down. $220,000 a year. If that money is raised in this community, Granville County, the entire community, the Joe Toller community, to the Granville Ed Foundation, that will partially defray the excess cost of keeping Joe Toller open. And we can keep Toller open until hopefully a time when our financial situation improves. I've given $2,000. $2,000. I gave it to Joe Toller. I've never gone to Joe Toller. My children didn't go to Joe Toller. I don't know anybody other than Mr. Smith and a couple of us who went to Joe Toller, but I believe in your community. I also believe in what Mr. Mims said. We have to believe in our whole county.
Okay.
Well, can I just ask for, does anybody here from the Toller community support that idea? No. All right, never mind, all right.
Y'all 2 months and you gonna come here and take over?
All right, wait a minute. This is the board deliberation.
I withdraw all consideration.
All right.
Thank you very much. That was the opportunity to have the community invest in their school. I withdraw that comment.
Mr. Mims.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I want to make sure the audience can hear me. As a first step, I move that beginning with the school year 2019-2020, we close Joe Toller Oak Hill Elementary School and reassign those students.
We have a motion, we have a second, Mr. Udy. Further discussion? Ready to vote? Mr. Smith? Please, yes, sir. Okay, hold the vote by raising your hand. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion carries. Now for Mary Potter. Discussion about Mary Potter. Anybody want to discuss Mary Potter? Mr. Peace does.
You should be ashamed of yourselves. I hope you can sleep well today.
Please, Mr. Peace, you would please.
I'm here tonight to talk about Mary Potter, my alma mater. I graduated from in 1960, and that's important to me. But the important thing that I feel coming from where I am right now is that we figure out ways to accommodate Mary Potter, keep it alive, keep it as a viable part of the Granville County school system. And, you know, I just like to do a couple of things, really. First of all, to talk about the importance of this school has been to the town of Granville. It has a long, rich history, and it would just be a shame, in my opinion, to close that school. And at this point, I would just like to make a motion to keep that school alive. And my motion is, I move that effective July 1, 2019, Mary Potter School and Northern Granville Middle School be consolidated into a single middle school located on the current Northern Granville Middle School campus. And that the current middle school campus be maintained for the school system, used and continue to hold its name of Mary Potter. I also move that the school the central office be moved to Mary Potter, and that schools be moved there for various programs.
It's a sellout.
Please let him finish.
That way, based on the information that I have and that I've explored, we could continue to use that school as a school and a central office.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second, Mr. Richardson. Discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
I just need some clarification. Based on the motion, Mr. Pease, then the Mary Potter campus would have to be the home of the central office as well. In other words, we could retain the current central office. We would have to dispose of it in order to relocate it to the Mary Potter campus.
That's correct.
So that would not be a requirement, that would be an option. Help me. Yeah,
The way I understand it, it is a requirement.
The motion is the requirement that we do that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Thank you. Okay?
Well, the only reason why I asked that is because of the estimates that we got. If we can't afford $955,000, we sure can't afford $4 million to renovate anything on Mary Potter.
Well,
so for that portion of your motion, I can't support.
If you know anything about construction, obviously we can do what we need to do there without spending $4 million. And And the other part of this is that if the central office building is sold, that'll be a profit and will save the system approximately $25,000 a year in utilities. If you look at it over a 5-year period, that's $100,000 plus the sale of the building. And the other thing that I'm aware of, being in construction as long as I am, that there's a lot of things that can be done over there for less than $4 million.
If I could jump in and say something at this point. I think what Mr. Peace is trying to do is to do everything he can by getting it approved by this board to do all that we can to keep that Mary Potter school name, obviously, but to make it a viable school and community complex that some of us believe can be even something you could be even prouder about moving forward. We are in a different time. Times change. We have 248 students at Mary Potter, and I'm going to be honest with you, I am embarrassed that those kids are not getting the same set of opportunities as other kids and other middle schools get because of the numbers. We are funded in this state on average daily membership, which means the total number of students in a school determines how many teachers one gets at a school. Well, because of the numbers, we get enough teachers for the basics and 1 or 2 others. I could go on and on. There is nobody on this board that wants to close that school. And if there was anything that came up to vote to close it, I guarantee you I wouldn't, and I don't think anybody else would. We have got to come to grips and make that an even better educational facility in the future, or as Mr. Mims mentioned, we'll be right back here next year, and the next year, and the next year. So I just want to say that I support his motion because I truly believe he wants to make that school a win-win. And I approve of that motion.
Mr. Chairman, can I just thing?
Yes, sir.
The idea, from my perspective, is that I've been looking at and trying to figure out ways to not close Mary Potter, and of course Tola also. But the idea that I have, I feel like it's a viable option that we have to keep it open. Now, and I'll stand by that, regardless of how the vote goes. I'll stand by that.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify. I support Mr. Peace's motion, but I am concerned, like Mr. Mims, about the requirement to move the central office. I believe it's Mr. Michael Mohammed who, at the Mary Potter public hearing, suggested that we consider schools with adult education, adult vocational training. Granville Academy, which is apparently going great guns, and is quite a successful school, has been talked about basing Granville Academy on the Mary Potter campus. I would like to ask if Mr. Peace would modify his motion where we look to investigate moving the central office there, but only if it makes financial sense. I've gotten a lot of emails and phone calls from people who were under the impression that we were going to spend $4 million to modify that school. And that's just not the case. We're not going to do that to make the central office. If it does not make financial sense, the central office will not move. But Mary Potter will stay a school, and hopefully we'll see race back to the heights where it once was. So, Mr. Peace, I like your motion. I just would like to wonder if you could just slightly modify it where we're not required to move the central office unless it makes financial sense.
I believe I was asked to have a question.
Okay.
Before we make some type of another motion.
Yes, sir.
I really just have a comment. From the evidence of what, if people are really listening, I'm speaking from an ear. If you're really listening, what I said earlier about how you have coded one school community over another school, is so evident in the statement that's just been made. Or how you say you, Mr. P, I admire you, keep your part, this is I want to keep Joe told. But the evidence of what I'm talking about is that, look at the fact, when you said that you wanted to move central office to Murray Park, and then the idea came up about if it was feasible financially. I believe that's the same statement I made a few minutes ago, that we have been plotted against one another to close one school with the hope of keeping the other one open. And then down the road, we're going to find ways to close the other school as well. And finance is going to still be the same thing that is going to be used. I have no problem. I understand middle school is 3 miles apart. But what bothers me again is the way we are rushing into things, and we have not looked at moving all the elementary schools into Murray Park. If Murray Park is that so beloved to some of y'all, have said that it means so much to you, you got all the schools right around a 4th mile from Murray Park that's in the same condition that Murray Park is in. In fact, why not move one of those elementary schools into Murray Park? If you really say you love Murray Park, why don't you look at those other options? It's evidence that it's been strategized and pre-planned on the schools that you want to close. And you're using tactics that's old as Methuselah to do it. And that's a fact. I'm not a smart guy, but I know what a calm is. And I smell one.
All right. Mr. P.
The question was asked if I'm willing to amend my motion. And the answer to that, no.
Mr. Chair, I need further explanation. What is the time frame for divesting of the current central office? That's where I have the hang up. Is this next school year, or what are you talking about? We have to be out of the current central office.
The answer to your question is not a definitive answer, because if you let me finish, sir, I appreciate it. The idea is to leave the central office there, move the students, and like I said, next school year, leave the central office where it is until Murray Park is renovated and they can move into it, and then sell the building.
Well, then I apologize, because I did not understand you to say leave central office where it is until it is renovated and so forth. I heard you say basically go to put the central office at Murray Park.
Let's just, for clarity, have the motion read as it's down on paper at this point in terms of sharing that with us.
Go ahead.
Did you get it?
Ms. Bedaway, if you would, please.
Motion that effective July 1st, 2019, Mary Potter Middle School and Northern Granville Middle School would be consolidated into a single middle school on the Northern Granville Middle School campus. Also move the central office to be required to move to Mary Potter Middle School campus, as well as housing a school on the Mary Potter Middle School campus, as well as a community complex center.
Okay, so that motion does not have a date on it. So that leaves it open for staff and so forth. Okay? Does that clarify for you, Mr. Mintz? Does that clarify?
We don't have a date specific, and we have to do that.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Rivers.
So if I may, just, I think it's address the rules of order. You've asked that he amend his motion. He said he would not like to. So the motion as it is can be voted on, or subsidiary motion can be made either to divide the issues and vote on them individually, or to amend the motion. Either of those would require a majority before you get to the underlying motion, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think you've got some, Mr. Rivers?
Mr. Beast, I cannot support your motion as it's currently stated because I'm concerned, based on the architectural study, that we do have certain county building code requirements that could make the cost of moving the central office prohibitive. I think there's many opportunities to keep schools on the Mary Potter campus if it's financially unfeasible to move the central office. I know that's our goal, and we're trying to save the most money and hire the most teachers and do the best for our children. But I think I'm just asking for flexibility. Certainly that would be a goal, and that's what we've all worked towards. But if you put it in there that we're required to, and we find out for some reason that due to code that we've already been told by the architects do exist in the county, and we're going to have to spend some inordinate amount of money to move the central office, that just doesn't make financial sense. So that's why I'm asking, or I'll offer an alternate motion, that we can somehow get around that requirement, but we do want to achieve that as our goal, but we just aren't locked in if we find out we can't do it financially.
Mr. Rivers, being that I've been working in construction for about 35 years, I've been through the architectural drawing recommendations, and of course there's a lot of things in there that we don't have to do. There's a lot of things in there that maintenance in our system can do, and I would venture to say that somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million we could do it for less than $4 million. And we have to, in my opinion, look at the amount of money it's going to cost to do this. Of course, that's number one. The other thing that's taken into consideration is the effect that it's going to have on the community, on the children that go to school. So there's more than just a financial part. Of course, it's going to cost some money to do what I've been from doing. But when I look at selling central office and the savings you get from not having to pay utilities on that building, we have to, it's a no-win situation. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I just say at this point, I just think you're wrong.
Very good. All right. Mr. Rivers, would you like to respond?
I have a question for Ms. Dukes. If we pass this motion and we find out for whatever reason that the costs are going to be, and I frankly cannot support $1.5 million to move the central office to Mary Potter, not when we're in the financial straits we're in. If we find out that it's going to be $2 million or something like that, and we can't support that, can we rescind or modify this motion if at the time we have evidence that it's going to cost too much to move the central office to Mary Potter?
Yes, you could. I believe under your procedures that would just require a majority as long as it's a majority of the full board, which you generally have, as long as it's properly noticed in advance.
One of the problems, Mr. Rivers, from my perspective with what you've just said is that how much is too much? For you, it may be $1 million. For others, it may be $500,000. For others, it may be $1.5 million. The bottom line is that what I believe he's asking is that commitment to doing this with the various options about cost and that kind of thing that we would ultimately have to make. In other words, we make a commitment. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We then have to figure out what we want in there, what we can afford, and that kind of thing. I just think the reason I support it is I think it sends a very important message that we're not going to close that building, we're not going to close the schools, and we're going to do everything we can to make it the most viable possible organization that we can. So I would support it. Are there any other questions or comments? Mr. Mims.
Mr. Chair, I think what convoluted this issue is the combining of the two motions. If there were two separate motions, I don't think we would have have this discussion. Because the second portion of the motion, I think every board member wants to retain and maintain merit policy. But we have had, based on the information that we have today, it is not viable based on our financial, our funding, our finances right now. So to commit to do something when you know you can't afford it doesn't make financial sense. And that is my point. I don't mind us looking at it, coming up with figures and determining, yes, we can afford it. But to require us to do it now when we don't know whether or not we can afford it, that doesn't make sense.
How would you address what you just said in terms of a motion or whatever that would be?
I support Mr. Peace, and I think the first portion of the motion is something that would sail through without any opposition. Somehow we need to get his idea of what would cost $1 million or $1.5 million. We heard from the I guess, contractors that there were electrical and there were other items that might have to be brought up to code. And based on those things, you know, until we got some idea to require us to have to make those modifications without having a more concrete dollar figure, I think is not wise financially.
A couple of things. Number one, we didn't hear from the contractor, hear from the engineer. We hear from the engineer. And that's a whole other ball game.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Again, we had said here, talk about our commitment, spending up to $1 million or more to preserve the school. And we just voted to close down the school for less than $1 million. And that school does not even require. The school that we so just voted with that great compassion act to close down does not even require $500,000 to stay on. That's why I just have to say this. You know, say to the board at large, I have great respect for all of you, but shame on each one of you.
All right, Mr. Richardson.
I think one thing we need to take in mind with Mr. Smith's comment is that there was $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million worth of repairs that need to be done to that school we just closed. And so it's not just the operating cost, it's what it takes to make that school usable. And even this year, haven't we heard twice we have water problems at that school, that they've had to shut down the school for the well. So I think it's not just the ongoing expense we have to think about, it's everything it takes to operate this school district. So that needs to be a correction there.
We currently have a motion on the floor regarding. Okay, go ahead.
I want to say the same thing as well. That's true with every school in Granville County. Every school in Granville County is going through process that needs money to keep it up to par. Every single one, from the south to the north to the east to the west. That is a sorry excuse to point where you would close one school and want to keep all schools.
All right, we can vote on this motion, or somebody could make a motion to divide the question. That's one way we can, that would take a majority vote.
Mr. Chair, on the floor, I move that we divide the question.
Is there a second? We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. That motion is defeated. All right, back to the original motion. Would you please read it one more time? Speak up. Back to the original motion. Would you please read it one more time?
Motion that effective July 1st, 2019, Mary Potter Middle School and Northern Granville Middle School will be consolidated into a single middle school housed on the campus of Northern Granville Middle School. also requires that central office be moved to the Mary Potter Middle School campus, and then where they will also house a school on that campus, as well as a community complex center.
All right, you've heard the motion. We have had a second. So at this point, does anybody have any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? We have a 3. Let's do that again. All right, let's vote again, because all right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed, raise your hand. That motion is defeated. Thank you very much. So, we're back to square one. Is that, so you can make a motion if you would like to, Mr. Mims.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I move that we assign the students from Mary Potter Middle School, Northern Granville Middle School, beginning school year 2019-2020.
All right, we have a motion and a second from Mr. Udy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries. Yes, sir?
I'd like to offer a second motion.
Okay.
I move that this board look into and consider moving the central office to the Mary Potter campus, and that this board look at taking the suggestions from the community about looking at adult vocational training, about relocating Granville Academy, and about maintaining a vibrant school presence on that campus.
Second. We have a second. Does that motion include examining the possibility of moving the central office?
Yes, sir. It does. If it makes financial sense, if it satisfies the burden we have to hire teachers, to educate our children, if it does that and it makes sense, then yes, we move forward.
Okay. Any further questions? Anybody?
Just because the motion was the board to consider, by that you mean, are you asking administration to bring you, are you asking that the administration bring you proposals or options or data?
What I'm asking is that we plan to move the central office at the appropriate time, subject to the financial viability of it. In other words, if for whatever reason, we'll have to vote. If we're going to have to take this much money, the board will vote and say that's too much money, let's get a lower cost option, because we don't want to burden the education of our children on moving the central office. So it's a global thing. We have to look at how much money we save by closing Delacroix Street, how much money it costs to satisfy the code to move the offices to Mary Potter.
And I'm just trying to make sure, for the minutes, that it's clear how we will know when you've carried out the motion. So it sounds like it's a motion that the board study these things that you're listing.
Correct. I would say that the administration, that the superintendent, present to us at the appropriate time information that indicates the cost based on appraisals, based on contractor estimates, that we get a clear financial picture, and if it makes financial sense, the board votes up or down to move the central office at that time. Mary Potter will still be in existence with schools on that campus.
Right. Include in your motion selling of the central office and the cost that we would get from that would play into this.
Yes, sir. The whole package. We would look at the overall package of disposing of the Delacroix property, Delacroix Street property, recognizing a profit or some gain from that, offsetting the cost of moving to Mary Potter, and if financially it comes within what we can do without affecting our educational capabilities, then we move forward at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's a lot of what you said in terms of emotion. I know emotion, we got a second. But I think we need to reread that one more time, if you would, the motion.
I have A motion that the board consider moving the central office to the Mary Potter campus, including this, I would say, studying the options for vocational training, relocating Granville Academy.
The motion was, if I may.
Okay.
The motion was that the Mary Potter campus be a facility for education, that schools be located on that campus. We already have Phoenix Academy, but we're going to... Oh.
So there aren't any.
So, just again, try to make the motion in a way so that it will be clear what
Understand, it's the second half of Mr. Peace's motion without the requirement to move the central office. So if the motion would be that the Mary Potter campus remain an educational facility with schools on the campus, which we already are studying and planning to move forward with, and that we look at data provided to us by the superintendent to make a decision whether it's financially appropriate to move the central office and sell the Delacroix property.
So can I take a summarizing a motion that the Mary Potter campus be maintained as an educational facility and that the administration provide options for the location of the central office and other programs on that facility. Cost options.
All right. Does anybody, all right. That motion is made in a second. Doing due diligence here, I think we need to have the motion reread before we vote. And
Motion that Mary Potter campus be maintained as a facility for education and that the administration provide the board with cost options for the location of additional programs and the central office at that facility.
correct? Correct. All right. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries. All right, board members, at this time we need a motion to go into executive session. We have a motion, Ms. Mims, second, Mr. Richardson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. We will have executive session.